Sparking Change with Gigi, a show that aims to make the world a better place by bringing together authentic minds. This show encourages each of us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Get ready to be inspired and join us on this journey to create a brighter future for all.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sparking Change with Gigi. I'm your host, Giovanna Tartarone, and today we're going to be talking about how do we change the habits that we have that we know are not good habits and really create habits and beliefs that really serve us well. Well, all of this happens in our subconscious mind. And if you are ready to make some change, well, this is the show for you. I have my guest, Joanne Sweeney, who is an instructor of Psych and Psych International, and Bill Farth, who is a dear friend who has also taken the course Psych and is a facilitator like myself. So welcome, guys. Thank you for joining me. So we're going to talk about, we're all looking to make change. We all want to create more better version of ourselves every day. But we know that change is hard. That's what we learned. That is what we were programmed to know, that change is hard. Until I came across Psych, and I will tell you that change can be pretty simple if you get to know this process called Psych. So, Joanne, would you share with us your how you got involved with Psych and what it did for you?
Yes, thank you so much for allowing this opportunity for me to speak about what is my passion and purpose in this life. And I welcome the opportunity to share. I actually started my own self-discovery journey at a very, very young age, and read hundreds of books and studied all these different processes and learned all about the subconscious mind. And it wasn't until 2015, after listening to Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton, that Bruce actually mentioned Psych at the end of the book. And when Bruce mentioned Psych, I had never heard of it in a 30-year journey. And I'm talking a daily avid studier and reader and seeker. I never stepped off of that path, and I had never heard Psych. But when he mentioned those words, it was like there was this electric charge that went through my body. And when I sat down at the computer later on that evening and pulled up the website, I knew without a shadow of a doubt, without ever having experienced it or talked to anybody that had, that this was what, this was the answer to my prayers, that this was the missing piece to be able to literally, download into my subconscious what I had gathered, knowledge-wise for 30 years before that. So I had felt for the longest time that I had my hand at the door. I just didn't know how to get to the other side. So I showed up at that workshop in 2015, and it was as though I was blasting through barriers at my subconscious that I had been chiseling away at for decades. And I felt lighter. I felt buoyant. I cried a lot. There's a lot of releasing, a lot of things that I didn't even know that I was holding on to. Psych is a spiritual process that allows us to reprogram the subconscious mind. Imagine yourself like the programmer, the software engineer to yourself, the keyboard to your subconscious mind. So it's life-changing work. It allows us to move out of our limiting beliefs and barriers. And create a life that we love. So I've been teaching it since 2017, and I couldn't imagine doing anything I love doing more.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I'd say, I brought Bill on because Bill introduced it to me, and I'll never forget the time when he did one session through Zoom, and I was like, what is this? I felt it, and through the computer, through Zoom, to have such an impact from the inside. And, I have gone through a emotional roller coaster ride with my journey, my illness. And I had to do the inner work to come at peace with it. And I will tell you that it opened my heart to understand now that everything was going to be okay. To have that peace and that freedom to let go of the trauma that happened to me. And this is, I believe, what holds people back is their experiences and their traumas that create some beliefs or habits from that experience that creates us not moving forward, that like block us from achieving what we want to achieve in life. So Bill, first of all, I want to say thank you so much because you truly have changed my life. Um,
I love
and
it.
yeah, tell us about your journey, Bill.
Well, thank you for having me. This is wonderful to be here with two beautiful, wonderful people, and I get to share some time together.
Yes.
I guess my journey with Psyche started like Joanne in 2015, and I basically have been a lifelong journey of trying to heal from complex PTSD. I was beaten as a child, and my father, I used to fight with my brother. He was 13 months older than me, and I was 7 and he was 8. And it would upset my mother that we were fighting all the time. And she'd say, where do your father gets home? And my father, what his father did, it took us upstairs and pulled down our pants and whipped us with a belt. And I didn't realize how traumatizing it was. If he was doing it today, he'd be in jail for child abuse. But we couldn't sit for a couple of days, and there were welts on and what I found is that I lost all sense of trust, innocence. I was terrorized. So I didn't feel safe in the world. And I didn't realize how much of that because I suppressed it. And then, during my teens, there was some alcohol and drug abuse. And in the 20s, I became an Iron Man because nobody was going to mess with me. And, and so I've been on a lifelong journey of trying to heal from this, not realizing how angry I was and how dangerous I felt that the world was. And then in my 30s and 40s, I did 20 years of modern psychoanalysis, which was great because it helped me understand more about the way I was. It didn't change anything. It gave me better understanding, but it didn't give me any real relief from the challenges that I had. I always found that I had to be self-employed because if I had a boss, I was sure the boss was out to get me and he couldn't be trusted. And, so I never felt safe in a work environment. And the authority figures made me feel, intimidated and unsafe. So then I did 8 years of law of attraction, moving up the emotional scale with Abraham and doing the work there. And that helped some. But again, it didn't relieve it. So like Joanne, I read The Biology of Belief.
Yeah.
Said, oh, this sounds too good to be true. But I was hopeful and prayerful that it was so. And then
you were open to receiving something, doing something different.
Yeah. So, I was still searching, still seeking. I was still, trying to heal from the issues. And what I had tried that hadn't, it gave me some relief. I used to have dreams of being chased by monsters and, volcanoes and everything. But all that anger kind of calmed down through the therapy. So there's some help in that. But it wasn't until I got to the Psyche. It took me a year to do all my due diligence. I didn't believe it sounded too good to be true. I read all the books I could get. I watched a lot of the YouTube videos. And I found out that you can't learn how to do Psyche from a book or from a YouTube video. You have to take a class in order to learn how to do Psyche.
Yeah.
But it did talk a lot about the benefits of it. So I said, okay. So I finally hired a Psyche facilitator. She was in Colorado. I was in New York. One 20-minute session, we were able to transform the terror and the horror and the fear and the anger and the helplessness and hopelessness of being manhandled and beaten by my father into a cartoon. Didn't change what happened, but it changed my emotional meaning making, the relationship to what happened. So now I was less fearful. I found myself relating differently to men. I found myself less looking over my shoulder, and the world was less dangerous. And this sounded too good to be true. So the next month in September, I was in a basic workshop. In October, I was in an advanced workshop. And I've taken like 3 or 4 basic workshops, 2 advanced, the health and well-being. I took the mastery workshop, and then I guess it was the pro workshop before the mastery, and then the perk workshop while they were still offering that.
It's changes, isn't it?
Yeah. I wanted to know what I didn't know. I like, And I just found that for a couple of years, I just spent a lot of time doing the work myself. Every day, part of my daily practice was to do Psyche balances and to level up my consciousness. And I found that, it's taken time, but, the idea of being able to transform the subconscious limiting beliefs and the emotional meaning making and the beliefs, it sounded too good to be true, but I'm living proof,
Yeah.
So.
Most of my shows, I say to everyone as a life coach, I say, we have to do the inner work. And some people may not understand what I mean by inner work. So Joanne, can we elaborate on what we mean by doing inner work? when, we're looking to really transform our beliefs and our habits?
Yeah, no, it really is about self-reflection and self-awareness. And what's so beautiful about Psych is that so often we don't know what our subconscious programming is running present tense, right? And oftentimes we can catch ourselves with hearing the negative self-talk that we say, or different behaviors that limit us. But with Psych-K, we're able to not only through muscle testing, which gives us access to our subconscious mind, but in a matter of minutes, being able to change those programs into self-enhancing and self-supporting programs. So the inner work is all about excavating that which is interference, that which is pain memories, that which is these different experiences that we've emotionalized consciously that have been running the show from whenever they were downloaded, present tense, running until you change that program. And so many different processes that I had learned about before. Again, it was awareness. You have this idea and this concept of it, but it wasn't actually reaching the subconscious mind where the program is running. So what's so different about this is that, the inner work is, although it still does take time, life is evolutionary, right? I mean, we are moving and growing each and every moment. But what's so beautiful is that when you make the commitment and you do the work, or you have a session, it's a new paradigm for you. It's a new version of you. And in that new version, as Bill mentioned before, the consciousness scale, I mean, it couldn't probably be more simply said that Psych-K allows you to raise your consciousness. So in raising your consciousness, you're now inviting what's in resonance and vibrational harmony into your life. So instead of having a lot of, lower experiences and resentment and blame and guilt and shame, which basically, sometimes it drives the rut, you're kind of digging the rut. To kind of come out of that and to, to heal and to grow from that and invite what it is that you want to be in the experience of. Psych-K is very solution oriented. That's what I love so much about this. It's such a simple process that you don't, when I say excavating, I mean, you're able in a matter of minutes to transform these triggering reactive responses into a state of peace or non-attachment. You're able to take these limiting beliefs and enhance them so that they're supporting you. And everybody has their own story. I mean, Bill shared his story, and every single person that is walking on this planet has a story and has had difficulties and experiences and also wants different things in life. And that's what I love so much about this work, is that it doesn't choose what you should believe, but it allows you to congruently believe what you choose. You are truly in the driver's seat with this work. You get to decide where you want to go. You're at the helm of your ship. So it's not like, we're all walking around with the same program. You are so unique, and you're able to tap into, your divine gifts and your unique talents when you have access to that. So whether you take a workshop or you have a session, again, they're both inviting the person to be open to change. And as Gigi actually said early on, that's where we begin, at least, where I begin, because a lot of people they think, change is difficult, change is painful, change happens for other people, but not me. And you can right out of the gate change that program into, it's fun and easy for me to change. And now you have a completely different experience, and you're open and inviting change, where before you were afraid of stepping into the unknown, because even your unhappy existence is familiar, right? So many people are embedded in, I know this, even though it's not what I want. I know this, I'm familiar with it. But when you invite the change as fun and easy, and then you step into that change, it really creates a brand new, a brand new life and a brand new pathway for you.
I love that. And, we are familiar with Bruce Lipton, and we've learned that we get programmed very early in our lives, before 7 years old. And those programs are truly running the rest of our life, in addition to whatever bad experiences that we have. And for me, coming from Italy, coming to the US, I mean, there was fear in my subconscious mind with everything that I did. And not only that, I never opened my mouth. So I didn't want to speak. So that actually prevented me to even move up in the career ladder, because I'm like, oh, I can't speak. Or having this show, I will tell you, and Bill can can attest to it. I was a very quiet person, and after the work that I did, and also became a psyche facilitator, and I do it every morning as part of my spiritual practice, is it just has opened me up to really tap into my true potential. And we're the only ones that really set the limits, but we also have these beliefs that were set when we were young. And if we can just be open to say, okay, let's change these, because, you know, if we didn't create them, they're not our beliefs. They're someone else's beliefs, right? So we should be creating our own beliefs to what we came, to discover what we came here to do, basically, right? And our purpose is to serve each other with love, empathy, compassion, but we don't see that. And I think it's because we're so programmed to fight for ourselves, and that's not the way it should have been. It should, you know, we did not come here to say, just take care of yourself. Don't worry about nobody else, because that's not what God created. He created us to help each other to grow. And that's what I love about this process, is that you can say, okay, what do I want to do? What do I need to change? What's holding me back? We do also receive a lot of information from the outside noise. I call it outside noise, but it's the TV, it's social media, it's everything telling us why we can't. And so, Bill, let's talk about that, because you also work with a lot of clients. What have you experienced with your clients as you help them to facilitate change?
Well, it's interesting. The idea that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we're at various states and stages of consciousness. And I find that, Psyche helps us move up the consciousness scale. And part of the issue is that we have windows of our soul or consciousness, or there's a thing called the reticular activating system, which is things that filter. We're bombarded every day with millions of bits of information. We need some way of filtering that. It's our belief system that does that. The idea of you buy a new red beetle bug, or car, all of a sudden you're going to notice all the other red cars on the road, because your reticular activating system, your consciousness, is now aware of it. So our beliefs definitely determine our, what we allow in. And then the challenge that we have is that the TV and media is designed to hijack our reptilian brain or in our amygdala, the idea of the fight, flight, or freeze response. So if there's danger, which is what TV is all about, and it's either, it forces us, we don't have a choice. We have to look. So I get eyeballs on the screen, and it gives them the opportunity to sell advertising. What we get to do, and again, we've all gone through the same developmental process as human beings. There's a couple of years of pre-verbal where fight, flight, or freeze, the world is safe. And then there's from 2 to about 8 where we're learning whether we're lovable, and there's abandonment issues. And then there's from 8 to 25, the neocortex is built out. So our brain development, we all have patterns of that, and the patterns is what we live with. So the issue is with Psyche is, how do you get back to those patterns? There's a book out called about the 5 childhood wounds that everybody has at some level or another. Am I lovable? Am I safe? Am I worthy? Am I loved? Those kind of things. And those are the core issues that everybody deals with on some level. And the idea is that until you peel the onion to get down to those issues, the quality of life on the external is not going to change until the internal changes. And those seem to be the themes, or the humanness, whatever you want to call it, that we all have aspects of. And again, Psyche is a tool. It's a tool to access where those issues reside. So,
and that's the inner work that needs to be done. Let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll come right back.
Now, the vast majority, approximately 95% of the people of all countries, go around and around without aim or purpose. They drift with the circumstances of life, good or bad.
A drifter is one who permits himself to be influenced and controlled by circumstances outside of his own mind.
Whereas the successful individuals create their own circumstances and ride them to victory.
When you're on purpose, you're living on purpose. You will never quit if you have a real purpose.
A burning desire to be and to do is the starting point from which the dreamer must take off. But what I have done has been recorded, it's been tested, it's being taken to a free world, and it's going to benefit millions of people who are not yet born.
And it's going to benefit millions of people who are not yet born. We're some of those people. That we're spreading this to the world. As your awareness grows, the doubt is gone, so that you can manifest whatever it is your heart desires. Isn't that beautiful?
So I love that commercial because it really helps us to understand that if we do this inner work, we find our true purpose and we can truly live a better life. Now, I know that 95%, and this is research-based, 95% of what we do every day is repetition. If you look at it, it's the same thing every day. So we're really working from the programs that we have. And this is where someone has to say, you know what? It's time to do something different. I don't want this life. And taking this step to making that commitment and doing whatever it takes is the key to start really thinking about our own self, right? Because we're so many times choosing to make other people happy that we forget that we're just as important. And only when, I believe, when we hit rock bottom, and I'm talking from personal experience, that we say, okay, I'm going to really make an effort to change. And I believe this is when Psyche finds you, when you make this commitment to say, I'm ready for change, show me. And then most people know my story, but I'll share it with those who don't. I got that knock on the door to tell me I have breast cancer. And it was like, okay, wait a minute. Like, I'll do whatever it takes. And who am I speaking to, right? Because I had to have enough faith to say, give me another chance. And I don't want that to happen to people. This is why I'm sharing my story, right? I don't want people to wait until they're suffering to say, I want change. There is something out here that can create this change in a very simple way through Psyche. And it takes a little bit of effort and commitment to ourselves to say, let me do whatever it takes. What I love about Psyche, it's like, we're totally in control. We, and Joanne, let's talk about like the process a little bit, so that people, will understand that as facilitators and instructors, when we teach and also help clients to go through this process, what is a balance? Let's go through that a little bit so they have some information, how simple this is.
Well, the foundation of all Psyche balance processes is muscle testing. It, again, allows us to communicate directly with the subconscious mind. So depending on if you're in person or working with somebody remote, again, either the person in person is, being muscle tested to determine what programs are running at the subconscious. Or if it's remote, then the facilitator is using a process that allows them to essentially put on a cloak of consciousness on behalf of the other person. But they're 100% actively involved in a balance process, which allows you to have what's called a full response potential, creating a whole brain state that utilizes the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere simultaneously to create what's called crosstalk. The corpus callosum is the neural pathway between both hemispheres. And when we have a triggered reaction or a reactive response, we tend to over-identify with one hemisphere and not share that information. And that becomes the reactive response or the triggers, right? The triggers over and over again. So this truly allows for neuroplasticity, and it allows us to actually download new programs into the subconscious that rewrite the old limiting programs that allow you to, to move forward. built into every Psyche balance process is also a permission protocol. So we, confirm at the superconscious level of mind, the spiritual aspect of mind for each individual that's going through the change, that it is in their best interest and safe and appropriate to move forward. Then we confirm which process is to be chosen. And then again, depending on what process their subconscious mind chooses for the best for that goal, then they're in a matter of minutes able to confirm what program was what we call weak, which is a weakened muscle response, which means that their subconscious mind is not on board, is not in the belief of that statement. And then a matter of minutes later, not only do they feel a shift within the process, but you're able to confirm that with muscle testing that the new program is actually downloaded. So you have conscious mind awareness of the change in addition to the experience during the balance process. So again, it's unique for every single person. Everybody has their own, their own expression and what they feel, but then you come back around and you look at that concept or that belief and you see if there's, something more, something additional. So it really is, I think Bill mentioned, peeling the onion, but it's peeling the onion with rapid speed, it's like a massive peel, and it's not one-to-one. That's the thing that I think that I love so much when I first learned Psyche, because so many people, especially if they've been on the self-discovery journey, they're like, oh my goodness, I have so many limitations in my way in so many different areas in my life, whether it's, career or finances or relationships or whatever it is. And it's not one-to-one with Psyche. I share in the workshops that I teach that sometimes, if you equate it to bowling, you can hit that center pin and get a strike, and you do one balance and it opens up this huge new experience to move forward with such lightness. I want to say, probably overall, the sense that people get, they do feel the sense of lightness, this sense of, you're letting go of the density, the heaviness that we unwillingly or unknowingly carry around with us. And you can see it in their eyes, and I just taught this past weekend, and one of the women, she even said, she's like, I'm standing taller. I feel completely different. She came in and she was so protected and kind of, rolled in, and she left with, such a stance of confidence and excitement to walk into the rest of her life with these tools. That's the beauty of it. Is the workshop, you have the tools in your hand to continue working with yourself, and if you choose to work with others as well who are open. So
it's beautiful. It's beautiful when you see the transformation of other people in front of your eyes,
absolutely real time in front of your eyes.
Yes, you get to feel it too, because you see it in their eyes. And I do believe what we put out there, we get back. And that's also a perfect example of that. Bill, let's talk about, Joanne mentioned some areas of change, but the 7 categories of change for Psyche.
Well, he probably doesn't know them by heart like I do, or maybe he
probably
does.
Not, right?
All right, so let's talk about. Let's pick one of them. We know career and career. Let's talk about career. Well, let's talk about relationship. Right? Let's do relationship. Like what people coming to you, wanting either to find their soulmate, wanting a better relationship. What are your results?
Usually people, what I find when people are seeking, they have to be actively seeking and have a willingness to change. And usually there's the process is they read a Bruce Lipton book, or they somehow or another, they get to the Psyche International website and they look through the facilitator profiles, and they see my profile and it resonates with them. So they call me or they text me, and then we go through the onboarding process. And what I find is that everybody has, issues that they've been dealing with and not satisfied or haven't resolved the issue. They've tried a lot of different things, but they're motivated. Now, when it comes to relationships, again, it comes down to some core beliefs and core limitations of worthiness and self-esteem and lovability and things like that. And so the idea is that with the 7 categories of change, in each one of the categories, there is 11 standard goal statements or belief statements that we can test to see whether someone believes or doesn't believe. And then if we find that if they can't come up with their own through dialogue and through our diagnostic process is we ask people, what is it that you have in your life that you don't want? And it's very good because I start dumping about all the things that are
Very
wrong
simple
with their life.
question, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's good information because now we know what they don't want. The next question is, well, what is it that in your life that you do want? And then we help them craft, first person, present tense, short, emotionally meaningful, and positive goal statements. And if they can't come up with that, then we have some that we can kind of substitute for them to get the process rolling. And so it's in making those belief statements, they again, through the surrogation process. Surrogation, by the way, was something that was fascinating to me. How can you communicate with someone or with someone's subconscious? It doesn't speak English, so through the muscle testing, the energy in the body is different depending on the belief system. So now we have the capacity to do that. So now we make statements, and we test to see whether the subconscious already believes it. If it doesn't, then we go to work. We get permission that it's safe and appropriate to make the change from a higher source, something that has your highest or best interest at heart and knows best for you. And then we basically go to the subconscious and say, are you ready, willing, and able to make the change? And then we do the balancing process. There's like 14 different balances, Joanne, or something like that the subconscious selects from to actually do the change processes, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I answered your question, but does that make sense?
No, it does. I'm going to go back to Joanne because she's going to go down through the 7 categories of change because, in life, we do need to change lots of parts of our lives in order to elevate, rise in consciousness. So let's go through that, Joanne. Thank you, Bill.
Although I have to say, I'm impressed, Bill. I'm impressed at your ability to rattle off the 5 criteria too for the goal statements. So yeah, specific to relationships, like Bill mentioned too, whether we are open to receive love or able to give love or open to, an intimate relationship if we've been hurt in the past. So again, and also too, it's not just intimate relationships, it's relationships with our friends and our colleagues and our spouses and on and on and on. So again, everything in life actually is relative to relationships, right?
Yes.
And especially the relationship with ourselves. It's so key. And I think the beauty of, this work too, is that it allows us to, to recognize, our divinity, the divinity in others and the divinity of all things, right? In our environment. So again, relationships, huge area.
Yes.
Self-esteem. Yes. Are we believing in ourselves? Do we feel capable? Do we feel that we have, the innate ability to move forward, instead of hindering and holding, ourselves back? You mentioned relative to that you were quiet. You didn't speak up. You didn't self-express. That's something that's huge. And that was me too. I was the quintessential shy girl. I did the worst thing in the world, when I was in school was to be in front of a class and needing to speak or read out loud. That was terror for me. Super shy, which again, and I still, even though I was in a service-based industry, I was a hairstylist for 30 years and massage therapist for 15. I was still quiet and reserved. I still was in this, this little bit of a closed shell. And it wasn't until I learned Psyche and burst out of that, that shell wide. And I'm not sure who mentioned too the idea of, feeling safe, but I know for me that was huge. That's not, necessarily in a category, but that's one of the most profound areas that really interferes with so many people in the quality of life. I suffered from insomnia for over a decade, and it was me at basic, learning the program to rewrite that to feel safe, because so often when we're trying to rest and to sleep, if we don't have that feeling of safety, we're hypervigilant. We always need to be on board. We're always listening, and looking for, what's, around the corner. Bill mentioned, the nightmares, right? So again, there's programming with so many things. Personal power. Do you have the ability to, to step into something new? Are you following your pathway? Do you know your purpose? Are you leaning towards what lights you up? Spirituality. Do you feel connected with, your spiritual nature? When I went in 2015, that was, number one. I wanted to know myself as a spiritual being beyond conceptualization. I wanted to know it through experience, what that felt like. Prosperity. That's another big one for me. Before learning Psyche, I was paycheck to paycheck. I was super frugal. I was like this, holding on to money. I didn't want to spend it because I was a single mom and paycheck to paycheck and all of that. And that, totally changed for me as well, to invite opportunity and to invite realizing that, If we're holding on to this, our hands are not open to receive. Same thing with our hearts. If we're blocking our hearts and protecting our hearts, we're not open to receive the love that we so desperately want. Let's see, health and body, right? I mean, again, stepping into feeling vibrant and healthy and knowing that you have the capacity within you. Our bodies are designed brilliantly and designed to be in homeostasis. So if we get out of those stress responses, our immune system knows exactly what to do, to really light that, and come back into the, the natural design of the body.
Beautiful.
Were there any other categories that I missed, Bill? I don't know.
Grief. I think it's grief.
Prosperity.
Grief and loss.
Yes.
Grief and loss. Huge.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where, again, the trauma responses, the pain responses, those painful experiences that took place, that again are, oftentimes riding the, the pathway forward in our reservation or in our protection or our inability to get, close or to forgive. Forgiveness is huge. And when we're able to, really, truly forgive at the subconscious level of mind, so many people have, said, oh, I've done all these different, processes or cut the cord and all these meditations and all that. And I said, yes, when you truly are able to forgive this at the subconscious level of mind, it is so freeing and so liberating. And you genuinely feel the release from that painful connector. So it really is like cutting the electrical current to something that's been painful for, it could be 50 years. It could be, any amount of time in a matter of minutes. That's the beauty of this, is that people are blown away that phobias and traumas and things that are very, very painful, in a matter of minutes, they can rewrite that and create a new storyline for themselves.
Yeah, I truly believe that the subconscious is connected to our heart. And our heart is where our emotions lie. And when you really take care of your emotions and acknowledge them, and we have a balance that's called transfer the
perception stress.
Transfer the perception of a stressful situation from the past, present, or future. I mean, that alone is magic, because it knows exactly what you're feeling, and it brings a new perception into that situation, where now you feel you've released the emotions attached to it, and you see it from a different, point of view. Again, perfect example is when I heard those 3-letter words, you have cancer, I thought I was dying. Now I look at it like, thank you for the wake-up call. That was just a wake-up call. Because if I didn't have that wake-up call, because there's people who drop dead without any notification. I got a notification that something was wrong. So I look at it from a whole different lens now, which has helped me to truly start learning about myself and understanding what I can do to, change my life. And I got into personal development, and here I am. I'm amazed at myself, at using this work and just bringing into my life more things that are making me happy to enjoy life. We'll only have one life to live, so why not make the best of it? But we're going to take another short commercial break, and we're going to come back and talk about the classes and the different types of classes that are offered at the Psyche. We'll be right back.
They discovered it, they read it, and they applied it. It's the golden thread that connects the titans of the self-development industry. The source that spawned millions of millionaires. The original blueprint to success.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It's a classic. A classic.
And I love Think and Grow Rich. I love it. It's right here. I mean, it's one of my favorite books of all time.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
It takes a burning desire, a vision, a goal.
If you are considering joining a program where you get to learn how to affect someone else's life, there is absolutely no better institution than the Napoleon Hill Institute to help you get to that next level.
We are on a mission. We are on a mission to transform lives all over the world. Our goal is to impact billions of lives and to disrupt the self-help and personal development industry.
Join us at the Napoleon Hill Institute, and let's change the world together.
Sorry about that. I thought it was supposed to come on the side, but it's okay. So let's talk about the Psych-K different classes that are offered.
Actually, Giovanna, would you mind if I just kind of backtracked? I just wanted to say something before the commercial break specific to what you were talking about, relative to your emotions and the ability to tap into that.
Yes.
One thing that, that I've certainly witnessed over the many years since 2015, working in private session and also in the workshop, that there are a lot of people that have, shut down their emotions, right?
Yes,
and they weren't allowed to feel. They really had to suck it up and keep going and not express and to not, show and share how they felt. And, there's a lot of people that are up here, they're intellectualizing, they're analytical and problem solvers and literally, very, very structured. And really, even that program is so huge that it's safe for me to feel my emotions. I allow my emotions to move through me are huge.
Thank you. You're absolutely right.
So
absolutely
big.
Right.
And I even worked with a gentleman last week who, same thing, brilliant mind, so cerebral, intellectual. And we even started with, I know how to feel, because he was totally guarded and totally shut down. And he even expressed that in order to feel, he needed to do these extreme sports, right? Extreme daring sports to feel anything, because he had really compartmentalized, that area in his life. So our emotions are our guidance system. Yes. And when we allow ourselves to, to not only feel, but to allow those emotions to move through us, it is so freeing and it's so liberating. And it literally allows us to reconnect with who we are and not be a stranger to ourselves, because so many people, they don't know themselves fully and completely. And I think that, generally speaking, this process really is a homecoming. It allows you to come home into yourself fully and completely, in all areas and in all aspects of your life.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Joanne, because I believe that we know our emotions drive our decisions, right? So if we're not feeling well, or we have a belief about something or a trauma about something, that's going to drive our decisions. I know a lot of people say, I forgot about that situation, that, they push it under the rug and they think it's done and over with. Well, we're here to say that your subconscious mind didn't forget about it. Your subconscious mind is holding on to it until you actually make the attempt to change that program. Bill, you wanted to say something on top of that?
Yeah. The idea that, I work with a lot of people who are coping with their life rather than healing from their traumas. And they have a desire to, because they're struggling with the imposter syndrome or the idea that they don't feel worthy. And they see it in the printout of their life or in the quality of their life. They know they want more, they want better, but they just, banging their head against the wall. They don't know what to do and how to change it. And so they try all these conscious level stuff, affirmations and trying to change things. But we know that the issues reside in the subconscious, and the idea of having a tool or a way to access the issues where they reside and transform them in a positive, loving, supportive way. It's just wonderful.
I love that. And, what just came to mind, I think I would like to also talk about, some of the beliefs that we all have. We've done some work, but some of the common beliefs that we have, let's say around money, because finances is a big thing in people's lives, right? So, Bill, I know that you are a financial advisor in your other life. So share a little bit about that. Like, what kind of beliefs do people hold that really prevent them from achieving success in life?
Well, particularly around money, there's so much head trash, if you want to call it that. The idea that they don't believe that they're worthy, or money is dirty, or if they're making money, they must be doing something bad. Or again, there's so many limiting beliefs around money. One of the things that was so powerful in the workshop I think I did with Joanne, it was the pro workshop, is that Robin, who was the instructor, held up money, and we did a balance around looking at the money to see whether we're in a whole brain state around it or not. And so many people have that issue that, they want the money, or at least consciously they say they want the money, but they've got so much emotional baggage around it. So,
yeah.
And the idea is that the principles of how to be successful with money, living within your means and, managing your taxes and, investing properly and wisely, things like that, or basic principles anybody can learn. But why don't people do it? It's because the belief systems that they have.
Yeah.
And the other thing I find around money in particular is worthiness. If people say, if things weren't so expensive, well, why don't you make more money? You have the capacity to improve yourself, to be a higher, better, most upgraded version of yourself you can be. So, why not enhance yourself so that you become worth more, so you can attract more, so you can have more? And that takes the belief that you're worthy of it. And so that's a core belief that we need to work on.
I know that, we grew up with the belief that, money doesn't grow on trees and you got to work really hard for your money. And, money is the root of all evil. And if we keep saying those beliefs to ourselves, then how can we accept money coming in easily, right? And so Psyche truly helps with that. Joanne, I want to go into about, we talked about self-worth and self-belief. And one of the major other things that people, want to eat healthier, be healthier, and lose weight. How does Psyche help with that?
Same thing, again, to come back to the simplistic idea of you look at what's happening now in life and what do you want instead? Again, Psyche is super solution oriented. So for each individual, it's going to be unique. Sometimes it relative to, to weight and diet that, there can be this protection mechanism, that's built into that, where people put on weight to say, stay away, keep your distance, that kind of thing. Again, it's unique for the individual. It's not like this blanket, overview specific to the general population. That's what's so beautifully unique is that each person can then, decide what it is that they want to be an experience of, even relative to exercise. I can say that, I didn't enjoy exercise for a long time and, was dragging my feet. And I had, experience in and out, different experiences where I had exercise and then fell off the wagon. And I actually did do programs, specific to really feeling confident and strong in my body, because we are aging, right? I mean,
yes,
I am my next birthday. I'm going to be half a century, which I still can't believe that that's even possible.
Welcome to the crew.
I don't feel that old. I literally feel like I'm 28.
You look beautiful.
I can hang with my girls, who are in their 20s. But I actually did, create these new neural pathways where I actually love working out. And I made a commitment to myself a year and a half ago, and I have worked out almost every day for a year and a half. And I feel, full of vitality and full of energy. And, it's remarkable. I can say that I truly, at 49, feel better than I did in my 30s. Because I wasn't so active in taking care of myself and really putting my best foot forward in my self-care routine. Giovanna talked about too. I mean, I definitely, I have these practices where, I show up each morning in checking with myself and reading and working out and exercising and things of that nature to be the best version of me, to be the best me that I can be in each moment. So,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I can vouch for, stress in our lives can definitely take a toll on our bodies. And this is where Psyche can truly also relieve a lot of stress because it's all up here, right? The stress is recreated in our body. And when we really disconnect from up here and we get into our heart with using Psyche, truly we feel it in our heart to just be much calmer. Have you seen a lot of that in your clients?
Tremendously. I don't know who you were addressing.
I'm gonna address it to you, and then we can go to Bill as well, because stress is the number one thing that's really holding people back from being healthy, being themselves, or just feeling that they can enjoy life, right?
Absolutely. And again, it can be a host of different things that, we relate as far as stress. Again, it could be career related, it could be financial related, anything. So again, to be able to transform the perception of stress specific to these different experiences in life is a game changer, because once you deactivate that reactive response and that nervous system alarm, I mean, these are like alarm bells that are going off in our bodies, which also tend to slow down our mental acuity. So many people say, I can't think straight. I can't think straight, because they're in overwhelm, right? They're in overwhelm and they're firing on all cylinders and overactive. So yes, to be able to transform our stresses and allow the body to settle into itself and to feel grounded and natural, it's huge, a huge game changer.
Thank you. And Bill, you can
what I find working with people is, particularly around the perception of stress and not feeling safe or really stressed out about something, the stress is a symptom. The cause is that they don't feel safe in the world, or they don't feel worthy, or there's something over here that they just don't trust, or they're afraid of, and it may not even be aware of that. That's what's going on. But it's percolating up into their consciousness, and it's presenting itself as stress, physical stress, emotional stress, overwhelm, that kind of thing. So the idea of doing transformation of the perception of stress balances are wonderful, because it releases the trigger or changes the emotional meaning making around the trigger. But behind that, the issue is how do we get to the root cause, which is making them feel safer and loved and worthy and okay, and the world is a safe place. That's ultimately.
Thank you. And so let's quickly go through, like, what can they do to sign up for Psych-K or connect with a facilitator and get the process going. If you're looking for change, here we are.
Yeah, if you visit psych-k.com, you can actually find preferred facilitators that have a listing on the psych-k.com website. So if you're looking to work with somebody, and also too, there are classes that are held in person worldwide, and actually 2 classes that are also held online now, L1 and L2. So if you do visit the website, you can look at where they're offered and the availability and the location. I actually just taught a basic this past weekend, and I'll be traveling up to Maine in 3 weeks to bring basic up north. And again, there's worldwide instructors, and if you're inclined to look into it, I highly suggest don't hesitate. It could also be the answer to your prayers and an open door for you to live a life that you only ever dreamed of.
Beautiful. And Bill, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, you go to my website, BLB Now, which stands for BeyondLimitingBeliefsNow.com, or go to the Psych-K International website and look me up as a facilitator. And if my profile resonates, reach out to me. Your subconscious will thank you.
And likewise, same here. If you guys are ready for change, we're here to help, because this is a process that we're going to share it, because it's life-changing. And if we were able to change our lives, you can too. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Until next time, I'm your host, Giovanna Tarderone. Thank you guys for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on Sparking Change with Gigi. I hope that our episode today has ignited a spark within you to create positive change in your own life and in the world around you. To learn more about how you can become a guest or supporter, head over to sparkingchangenow.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing, sharing, and leaving a review. Your feedback is incredibly valuable to me, and it helps me to continue producing content that sparks change in each of us and the world. You can find us on various platforms, including Google Play Store, Apple App Store, YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Android TV, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to having you join me again next week on Sparking Change with Gigi.